will transition us into a brief panel discussion to be followed by our cocktail. And I really want to appreciate your presence for holding on so far as we are going to move to the next phase. But I do retain that in this docufiction, some few statements I think are words of wisdom that we can take away with. Human beings have evolved and we can't live in the past. We need to move on. I also love the fact that one of the actresses stated that this documentary helped her to come to terms with this very difficult period of history, and it has even given her the courage to speak. And I really want to thank also the producers of this movie for ending the documentary with the last part on reconciliation, because I believe that this is the spirit with which we must address this period of history. And so without much further ado, and in this same spirit, we will now turn to the panel discussion, which will be moderated by Dr. Victor Sebek, Chairman of the South-South Cooperation Council and co-president of the Colombian Center of the International Theatre Institute. So over to you, and I believe that you will also introduce our panelists for the day.
Thank you very much, Gilbert. As the Ambassador, Her Excellency Ann Bosman, said, my own association with Ghana dates, if you can believe it, over 5 decades. When I was a student, I spent 2 years there, and it woke up a very strong admiration for African culture and African customs. And I have, as a result of that, worked and traveled to 32 African countries. So when the opportunity came to make this docufiction, to deal with a very painful part of African history, but also see how we can possibly, as you saw, reach a catharsis and reconciliation, I was delighted to take it up. So the director of the film, or co-director, Bernd Alder, is a Swiss director and painter based in Barcelona. So maybe, Bernd, you can tell us why did you want to take up this challenge and do a film on slavery?
Thank you, Victor. And thank you so much, Akasua Abdallah, the director from National Commission on Culture in Accra. So the answer is actually, we asked Akasua about the theater play. And she gave us 3 different options. One of the options she gave us was The Slave from her father, the theater play from Mohammed bin Abdullah. And I didn't know really what to choose, and I think it is not on me to choose what Ghana wants to use. So I asked back, Akasua, tell me which one of these 3 plays you would choose. And then finally she decided The Slave. So this was hard work, but very deep with emotion for...
So I think it is only right now to come to Akosua, who is also my colleague, because as I am co-president of the Colombian Center for ITI, she's president of Ghanaian ITI, and of course it must have been an emotional issue for you to take a very active part in the production of a play written by your father, which certainly made history. So do you think that the slavery still exists today?
Hello, everybody. I bring you warm greetings from Ghana, land of cocoa, gold, and the best jollof. I'm sorry if my Nigerian counterpart is here. We still have the best jollof, and we're going to Qatar, and you are not. I'm humbled to be in your midst today. I'm here in many capacities. 1, as the daughter of the playwright, and 2, as the co-director of the docufiction, and 3, As the president of ITI Ghana chapter, that's the International Theatre Institute, my director general is sitting right here. Hello, Mr. Tobias, how are you? Dr. Sebek, thank you very much for letting me add my voice to the ongoing discussion on Ulysses from Ghana. This docufiction is an initiative of the South-South Cooperation Council, the Colombian Embassy in Ghana, and supported by ITI Ghana chapter. We are very grateful to Monsieur Ladi Nylander and his African team for building capacities and advancing the agenda on the culture of peace and security in Africa. Ulysses from Ghana highlights not only the impact of slavery today, but also the trajectory on reaching a catharsis that can possibly lead to reconciliation. And when I talk about reconciliation that will strengthen transcultural communication between us and our brothers and sisters in the diaspora. The question is, does slavery still exist? Is that what you asked? Yes. Does slavery still exist? Global estimates indicate that there are as many as about 40,000 million people living in various forms of exploitation known as modern slavery. This includes victims of forced labor, forced marriages, human trafficking, child labor. The list is endless. Solutions to this is the very collective responsibility and efforts by all of us here. How can we facilitate this gargantuan task in our various countries and communities? We all have shanty towns, we all have ghettos, we all have zongos, we all have Jamestowns in our respective countries. Now, one of the main reasons for this conversation is not just to showcase Ulysses, but to collaborate on our various activities that will enhance the culture of peace and security in Africa. I think I'll hold it for now till the rest also come on board. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Akusua, for these very wise words, and also to thank you once again for extraordinary help which you extended to us when we were filming in Ghana. Now, as Cecile has mentioned, and I'm very proud, I should say, that a number of the members of the board of our organization are here. Cecile, Hedva, of course, Bernd, and John, and Honorable Tavanana Zhu. Now, John, you come from the part of the world that very few people know about. I'm not sure that if you mention the country you come from, people have even never seen on the map. So maybe you can tell us how this film impacted you, what connection you could make with small Pacific Island states, and what we might be able to do with you and your country.
Well, thank you, Victor, for the introduction. Thank you, Madam Ambassador, for hosting this amazing event and for inviting representation from the small island states. So first of all, I'd like to ask, has anybody ever been to the small island state of Kiribati? Not one, not one. Has anybody heard of the small island state of Kiribati? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Kiribati covers 3 million square miles of the Pacific Ocean. It's where the equator meets the international date line. If you put it into size of other countries, it's about the size of the continental United States. It's a gigantic country. It covers a very large mass of the ocean, but very few people have heard of it. And what I love about Ulysses is how it connects so many parts of the world. As you've heard, Ulysses takes place in Ghana, but is supported by Colombia, with a Swiss producer, and just shows the importance of this South-South cooperation. And to give you a little bit of an idea about the Pacific Island states, what they're most known for, what people remember them as, there's the Robinson Crusoe of the islands, they're romanticized, living on small islands. There's Gauguin, who eroticized the small island states. And now there's climate change, and this has forced victimhood, vulnerability. But the islands are so much more. The islands and their indigenous inhabitants in the country of Kiribati at least have lived on these islands for 2,000 years. They faced drought, they faced famine, they faced so many environmental challenges that the rest of the world can only imagine. And through this, just as you have heard in these stories, what comes out of it is resilience, a traditional knowledge, and this traditional knowledge is undervalued. Although we're talking about it now in the UN, recently in WIPO even, there were conferences on traditional knowledge. The system has no idea where to start. We're still hegemonic. We still have big countries that we have to go through for funding, and projects like Ulysses offer a way for South-South cooperation, for beginning with culture. It's a space. It's a new space. It's a new space for policymakers, for educators, academics, artists, and even for businesses such as Henley and Partners, who so graciously sponsors a lot of the events in small island states. It's a new space, and I'm very happy that UNESCO is taking the chance to host this event, and there's so many faces here to witness this South-South cooperation. And I'm very happy that Victor has chosen that the next docu-series will take place in Kiribati. So I hope that in another year and a half or 2 years that Madam Ambassador will get to see the fruits of this event and to see how this cultural diplomacy can spread. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And I think, bearing in mind that the distance between several islands in the archipelago of Kiribati is the same distance as between east and west coast of the United States or Canada. You can well imagine what it is. So I think one does need a bit of a spirit of Ulysses in order to get there. I hope you can help us logistically with that. Now, we just have, before we come to you, Honorable Tafanana Zhu, a very short message of 1 minute from another distinguished member of my board who was to be with us. She's the Director General for Population Welfare of Government of Punjab in Pakistan, but you all heard about the tragic floods in that country, and because she's responsible for it, she couldn't be with us. But Gilbert, maybe you can help us with only 1 minute and message which we have from her.
My name is Saman Rai. I'm working as the Director General Population Welfare Punjab nowadays, and in the past extensively worked for culture and promotion and projection of culture all over the world. I think Pakistan is one of the most beautiful countries at the map of this world, and currently it is undergoing the most devastating floods in the history ever. I'm also looking after the relief operations and looking after the displaced population. I want to congratulate all the organizers for such a beautiful ceremony and the screening of Ulysses from Ghana. I think it is a beautiful effort, and in future we are contemplating such an effort from Pakistan, because at Pakistan we have nearly all the religions present in one form or another. It would be a beautiful project leading to an interfaith harmony, peace and brotherhood, and as well as the promotion and projection of Pakistan. I think a big credit goes to Victor, all his team, and last but certainly not the least, UNESCO for keeping up its effort all over the world. Looking forward to an exciting project in Pakistan in the days to come. Thank you.
Yes, The interesting topic for the possible docufication in Pakistan is going to be religious tourism. I must confess I didn't know that they have so many shrines from Christian, Jewish, Muslim, obviously, Buddhist, Hindu and Sikh religion, and because it is such a part of a volatile world, it would be a great privilege to do a film that would actually celebrate religious tolerance, so much needed in the world. And now I turn back to the last panelist before our reception, Honorable Tapanana Zhu. It is a great pleasure to have you also as a member of my board. Honorable Tapanana Zhu is a member of parliament from Zimbabwe, but he's also a member of the executive of the African Parliamentary Union, which has got issues of democracy, corruption, which is such a great deal across the world, including Africa, and of course terrorism and need for peace.
Thank you, Victor. Your Excellency, Ambassador Miss Annie Bosman. You know, it's very hard to speak after the in-laws have spoken. I don't know, Victor, maybe you're going to pay. In our culture, you know, it's very hard to speak after the in-laws have spoken. Why the in-laws as Zimbabweans, why the in-laws to Ghana. But they didn't pay us. After Sally died, they didn't bring another woman to Zimbabwe. So maybe they are still in the process, right? Thank you, Ambassador. It's a promise. Ambassadors here present, Mr. Victor, the chairman for South-South Cooperation Council, and other board members who are present, co-directors of Ulysses from Ghana, all protocol observed. You know, the history of slavery, which was screened here, is too painful. We don't want it to be repeated in our modern life. Thank you very much for according me this opportunity to add my voice to this discourse. Racial discrimination and modern slavery is a serious human rights problem in the world. This is the most due to the displacement and migration of individuals. I'll ride on the estimates which was mentioned by Doc. Latest estimates show that forced labor and forced marriage have increased significantly across the globe. According to the latest global estimates of modern day slavery, 50 million people were living in the modern slavery in 2021. And of these people, 28 million were in forced labor and 22 million were trapped in forced marriage. Unfortunately, women and children remain disproportionately vulnerable to this cause. Modern day slavery occurs in almost every country in the world and cuts across ethnic, cultural, religious lines and can be in the form of forced labor and marriages. According to the research, more than half of all forced labors and a quarter of all forced marriages can be found in upper middle income or higher income countries. Research has also shown that 86% of cases of forced labor are found in private sector. It is documented that state-imposed forced labor accounts for 14% of people in forced labor. It is said to note that almost 1 in 8 of all those in forced labor are children. With regards to forced labor, and marriage statistics show that an estimated 22 million people were living in forced marriage in 2021. It's so painful. In the words of Antonio Vitorino, the IOM Director General, I'll quote, reducing the vulnerability of migrants to forced labor and trafficking in persons depends first and foremost on national policies and legal frameworks that respects, protect, and fulfill the human rights and fundamental freedom of all migrants, closed quote. Back home in Zimbabwe, we have got sections in our constitution, like I'll quote one of the section, that is section 54 of the Zimbabwean constitution, that states that, open quote, no person may be subjected to slavery or servitude, close quote. Other supporting legislative, including the Criminal Law Codification and Reform Act, the Labor Act, and the Trafficking in Persons Act. It is the onus of every society to reverse these shocking trends, including through the implementation of the Global Compact on Migration. There is urgent need to end modern slavery, and this can be done through, 1, improving and enforcing laws and labor inspections. 2, ending state-imposed forced labor. 3, strong measures to combat forced labor and trafficking in business and supply chains. 4, extending social protection and strengthening legal protection, including raising the legal age of marriage to 18 without exception, like we did in Zimbabwe. The now new marriage law, no person who is under 18 is allowed to be married. You are arrested in Zimbabwe if you marry somebody who is less than 18 years. It's a milestone. I think we need to give the hands to Zimbabwean government. Addressing the increased risk of trafficking and forced labor for migrants or workers. 6, promoting fair and ethical recruitment and great support for the women and girls. With these few remarks, we know always politicians, they will say few, even they spend 2 hours while they are speaking. I submit to you, Your Excellencies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tavanana. And of course, as a good legislator, you had some very practical proposals to make, and I thank you for that. Now, as we are supposed to really start our reception right now, I would still like to give an opportunity to any of you to ask questions. Et bien évidemment, s'il y a des questions de la part des collègues francophones, je crois que Gilbert ne peut aider pour répondre. Gilbert, est-ce que je peux te demander de venir? No? Any questions? Well, in that case, it falls upon me, Madam Ambassador, to... Oh.
No, it's okay. It's the second time that I see the film. The first time I saw with Victor in a very small screen, and I was really bluffed today. It was so important to see it. It was so strong. And I was really moved by this film. I just want to congratulate because it's very original, it's interesting, and we learned so much. And we have to really think about the future and to show a lot this film. It's an important film for me So thank you so much for doing. And I'm very happy. I'm just was talking to Sam that, you know, he was the first one we support here in UNESCO and with SHS, and we will try maybe to put it really to the program of the Road to Peace. We were just talking about it now. And thank you, because it's very unique, this film, and special. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Hedva. As these words come from the UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador for Cultural Diplomacy, it really means a lot to us. And of course, I don't want to miss the opportunity, as I told you privately, Mr. Toussaint, to thank you, because you were the first person when, as you rightly said, it was just a project, and you immediately stood behind us and thought that the world needs something like that to propagate cultural diversity, which is, of course, Hedva, that all your work, and you, indeed, Cecile, does. So may I, Madam Ambassador, thank you very much for allowing us this opportunity to screen the movie. I certainly want to put on record my great vote of thanks to my old friend, Ladin Islander, who is chairman of our Organization for African Continent, for his support. Of course, to you, Akosua, for all the help during the filming, to you, Bernd, of course, as our co-director, and I think, oh, Bernd, you wanted to say
something very important. This would have been shot not possible without Fifi Coleman and Akosua especially. This was a teamwork from the beginning on, a teamwork where Ghana is the platform to express with all the actors. We can say begin with the casting. The first day when we arrived with Victor from the airport, in this was a thank you so much of all of us.
If I have to put on record all the thanks, we really must also thank Her Excellency Claudia Turbay, who is ambassador, if you can believe it, resident in Ghana to 17 other West African countries, and who was very generous with her help during the filming. And I'm particularly proud of that, because whilst I have various ethnic backgrounds, I'm here today as a Colombian. And few people know, as she said at the end of the film, 30% of the population in Colombia are of African origin, and on the Caribbean, 70%. So just as Cecile said that you cannot properly understand African culture without knowing the position of black people in Asia, particularly in the Philippines, the same also applies to huge African diaspora in South America. So thank you very much, Ambassador.
Well, thank you very much, Victor. Thank you very much to our panelists. I think we've come to the end of our session. We've been fed intellectually and morally, and now it's time to feed ourselves in a different manner with a cocktail reception just in the foyer of room 1. But I believe that this evening has reminded us all of our Constitution and its prime goal, which is to build peace in the minds of men and women. Thank you very much and have a good evening.